TruthSeekah and or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark's at it!
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark's at it stuff!
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah podcast. It's going to be a good one. Make sure you guys buckle up. We're going to talk about it all. We'll talk about everything. Everything spiritual. All things spiritual, man. Leaving no stone unturned, man. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who is hanging out with us live in the live stream, live chat, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, wherever you're watching. Go ahead and let us know who you are. Type your name in there. Type in what's up. Let me know where you're listening from. And, man, you guys are beautiful. Also, I want to say a huge thank you to all the Patreon supporters. This is a listener-supported, listener-funded show. Really doesn't exist without your help. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for co-creating with me and helping me bring this to the masses, man. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Everybody who's been donating and supporting since day one, you guys are amazing. And the new people within the last week or so, I'm going to give a shout out to some of those people within the last week. Shout out to Diane Christina. Thank you for coming on. And Matthew Page. If you would like to support, go to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. And for any level of giving, man, you get access to some really cool stuff. All of my guided meditations are there. My entire discography of music, which is a bunch of stuff that you can't find anywhere else. A bunch of my demo stuff when I first started learning how to rap is up there. And there's other albums that were taken down from other retail outlets and some stuff that I just wanted to keep for patrons only. So there's over 200 plus songs. All the new stuff that I'm working on for White Magic, everything that's already finished is uploaded there. So you can check it all out and get access to that. As well as our Thursday night School of the Mystics, which is the community aspect to what we're building here. If you guys want to tap into community, prayer, dialogue, meditation, breath work, all that good stuff, man. Join us every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central. And for any level of giving, you get access to that as well. So just to let you guys know, just to throw it out there, I've been talking to Illuminati Congo about joining our next retreat here in Mobile, Alabama. So for those of you who have been asking and know that I've been talking about it, that is going to be coming up very soon. We'll have the tickets and stuff available for you. It's going to be sometime mid-October, late October, mid-November. So that's going to be amazing, and slots are going to be limited. So as soon as you see that, for those of you who said that you wanted to come, make sure you get a ticket. So that'll be up pretty soon. So that's going to be fun. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's conversation. My guest today is Sadhu Da. Brother, welcome to the podcast, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Good. Did I pronounce the name right? Sadhu Da?
Yeah, Sadhu Da. You got it.
Dope. What's it mean? So for people who don't know what a sadhu is or what Da means, can you go ahead and break down your name before we get started?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So a sadhu is an ascetic or a sage if you will, from Eastern traditions. The most relatable Western understanding for most people would be thinking of a Native American shaman. They're very similar in the way that they give spiritual assistance to their community and how they kind of walk between the realms, so to speak. And Da is actually like a homage to my African lineage on my mother's side of the family. And Da is kind of similar to the description that Jamaicans give of, like, the earth, the fire, the water. So, Da just kind of has that descriptive of, the, and the can be description for anything. So what is Da not is really the question.
Nice. And I guess that makes sense because you wear a lot of hats. Like, what am I? And maybe a better question is, what am I not? Talk a little bit about what you bring to the table, because you do wear many hats. You do hip hop, exorcisms, house clearings, and I want to talk about details on all that stuff. But kind of give an overview who you are, what you bring to the table, man. We'll start there.
Yeah. So, in a nutshell, I've had a interesting background of teachings that I was blessed with getting to study from various different masters, coming from the Bonpo Tibetan lineage of Buddhism under lamas and rinpoches, under the Theravada tradition of Thai Buddhism, under some very venerable Lungpor, which means like father. It's like a saint-like title, as well as different bhikkhus, or esteemed monks within that tradition. I've also learned under a Wicca coven that was just a really different experience from many of the other teachings I've had. But I've had so many different teachers who have helped shape me and culminate me into the teacher and student that I have become. And I've learned various different aspects of magic and performing, ritual work for people, as well as meditative practices, inner healing, spiritual development, doing exorcisms and paranormal work, cleansings, energy healing, all manner of things. Really, when you get down to just the nitty gritty of it, I help people heal, and I help people who are afflicted by the paranormal. And that's probably the simplest explanation I can give.
Now, what got you into all that? I love to hear the Genesis stories. Like, it's usually something in the childhood, whether it's, being into paranormal movies or having a supernatural encounter as a kid. What was it for you that kind of lit that spark within you to go down this route?
Well, when I was really little, maybe like 8 to 10 years old, it's kind of a blur these days, but I had my first paranormal experience where I had no understanding of what was happening. To me, it wasn't like, oh, this is paranormal, this is a spirit. It was, there's an unexplained darkness that comes and visits me at night in my room. And sometimes it's so scary that, it would levitate my bed. And I would be, this scared child laying in a bed, pulling the covers over and just praying and wishing it would go away. And it wouldn't. And when I called out to my mom one time, my mom comes in the room. She sees my bed levitating. Her cognitive dissonance was so strong that her natural reaction was to stare in shock for a second, then shut the door and walk away.
Oh, God.
And then ended up having me committed to a mental hospital because she felt like there was something wrong with me. And that was the justification for her of being able to make sense of what she saw was clearly there's something happening with him. There's no way that there could be something like that.
I've opened a portal
happening
in our home.
Right.
Yeah.
And then my grandmother, my abuela on my father's side of the family, we have a very deep connection with curanderismo. And my grandmother on that side of the family is a curandera. And she showed me lumpia and various different magical practices like cleansing with the eggs and like little spell working and stuff when I was a kid. And my mom wasn't really so keen on that, but it opened my eyes to magic in combination with my paranormal experience. And I'd say that was kind of what started me on the road, but I didn't really get into it until I met one of my first masters years later.
Wow. How old was you when you got committed? Like, how old was you?
I was maybe like 8 to 10 years old when I got committed to the mental hospital, and I really had no idea what was happening. They thought maybe I might have been schizophrenic, but I was
Yeah.
too young for schizophrenia to really be showing symptomology wise. And I ended up getting let go. And, they thought, well, maybe, he might be bipolar with, schizoaffective disorder. And, years later find out there's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of a beacon and I have lots of energy.
Yeah, that's a big part of the conversation, man. Spiritual work and spiritual awakening and mental illness, and how it gets passed off as mental illness, and even people using spirituality to cope with any kind of mental illness as well. Mindfulness. So that's a big part of the conversation, being able to see in two realms and being visited by things in another realm, and you got to try to make sense of it as a kid, and nobody knows what the hell you're talking about, It's huge.
Especially if you don't really have a support system that understands.
Yeah. When you were visiting, you was having those demonic or dark encounters. Have you ever made sense of what it was? Was it like night terrors? Is it like the shadow beings? What is it? The ancestors? Is it something trying to scare you out of that realm? Have you kind of revisited what that was?
With more understanding and an educational background years later, I was able to kind of configure that I was being visited by an oppressive, what you would consider be a demonic type of entity. And it was preying on the fact that I was not yet aware of the potential of my energy.
Yes.
And I was just an open, easy food source.
Mm-hmm. It seems like when that happens, because that happens a lot, happened to me, and trying to make sense of it, what's going on, and hearing other people's stories. And it seems like that stuff happens. They target people who are what you would call light workers, or people who are destined to make a difference on the earth, and do energy work. One who is able to see in the spirit, whether you're marked from your family lineage or whatever it is. It seems like those people who are marked as children and get attacked and get visited by dark entities are people who have a huge calling on their life to do something in the realm of spirituality.
Well, if you think about it from a predator's perspective, because that's what these things are by nature, wouldn't it make sense if you knew that your prey was going to be powerful enough one day to be able to not only combat you, but deal with you in possibly a dangerous way to your own health? And this prey was not yet aware of its capabilities or what it could do, and was not fully developed. I mean, if I was a predator, it would make sense to me that is all day long what I'm going to go after.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like they because I don't know how much they can really hurt you. You hear a lot of that. They can't really hurt you. They just scare you kind of thing. So I don't know how much harm they can do to you. Scratches, you hear about that kind of stuff. Mentally is the biggest harm that I think they do. But it's almost like they try to scare you away from anything spiritual, away from anything that has to do with that type of calling that you're getting ready to be called into for your life's purpose. It's like they try to scare you away from it. Some people have even talked about them being like these guardians, like you got to kind of pass through that veil to almost like initiation, and they try to keep you away, but you have to come upon your own volition, knowing that there's some dark stuff over there, and I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to take that step forward.
Well, every great healer that has ever walked the face of this planet went through a spiritual initiation of some sort. And for every single one, and I'm sure you can attest to this as well, it's kind of brutal. It's not comfortable, and it can be scary, and it can be a daunting task. And then, it also depends on, is this just your spiritual test, or is this a spiritual test, not necessarily determined to be that, but you're being thrust into it. And once you meet it and you surpass it, then, that initiation has been passed.
Yeah. yeah, who knows? Like, you know, if it's destiny or just by chance, but it feels like destiny, man, because this shaped your whole life. You know what I'm saying? And me too, and many others who've had those experiences happen. But again, it's what do you do with it? A lot of people have had it, but they have nothing to do with spirituality. They have nothing to do with, you know, exorcisms and wanting to help people. Some people have that encounter and they never speak of it again. Other people like us, like, hey, what the hell was that? I got to figure it out. I'm on a life's mission to find out what happened to me when I was 4 years old, kind of thing. And it thrusts you into this life that we're in now, you know?
Well, I've had a multitude of students over the years who have, you know, I would say passed up the call more than once when it was first presented, and it'll keep presenting itself. It's like a nagging voice in the background, and it'll grow louder and louder until you eventually answer it. And it's like the hero's journey, right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't take that call, eventually your life's just going to get harder and harder. And it's almost like it's pushing you in that direction.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, and it will be it produces depression. You know, if you don't, like, if you're called to do something, and when I say called, it's in your gut, man. It's why you were created. It brings you to life when you do it. For many people, it's music or any type of spiritual work, helping people. I mean, it could be so many things. And something that stands in your way, and you're being told that you can't do it, like, it can totally bring about depression, you know. And I think a lot of people are suffering from that because they're stuck in these 9-to-5s and things like that, or stuck in a cubicle when they know they want to travel the world, you know, and they don't have a paycheck that allows them to do that. They're barely keeping up with the rent, and they want to travel the world, and they want to, you know, visit shamans, or they want to heal, or whatever it is that they want to do. And when you can't do that, it's super depressing, man. I was there for sure. This calling, man, like, on the brink of it. It was just it's like a movie, dude. Life's just like a movie. But I saw it with tears, man. I sat in my work truck crying, like, man, do I give up on it? Is this my calling to be here, like, building these other people's dreams and working on, you know, somebody else's dream or whatever, versus like saying yes to it and now getting to wake up and do your life's calling for a living, like get to wake up and work on music and do sessions with people, to interview amazing people and be able to make an income off of it. And you know, it's depressing, you know, thinking that you have to let that pass you by. Was you ever on that brink of, like, you had to submit to the 9-to-5 and this thing was just a pipe dream, or it's only for some people kind of thing?
Yes, actually. And I can think of no worse fate in this world than to not be yourself and who you're meant to be. One of my first teachers, as a test to prove my worthiness of his lessons, and I am eternally grateful for all that he has taught me, I had to be homeless for a while, and I had to decide how important this was to me. Was I going to commit mind, body, and soul to this, knowing that it wasn't bringing me any fruit in the beginning?
Yeah.
Knowing that there was a real chance that I could starve to death, that I could succumb to the elements. How bad did I really want this? How hungry and thirsty for the knowledge and the skill and the development of this was I truly? And only once I had proven myself, and, you know, in this regard, I would say I'm more fortunate than some others who might have gone down a similar path as me. But at that point, when I had proven to my first master, like, hey, I am worthy of this, and I'm not going to give up no matter what life throws me. Like, this is what I am meant to do, and I'm going to do it even if it kills me. He clothed me, he sheltered me, he fed me. He took care of me so that I could strictly focus on learning and studying, and becoming the mage and the healer that I was meant to become. Yeah.
See, that was something that was common in the old world, our ancestors. Like, I even talk about, I'm a big Bible guy, right? And the prophets in the scriptures, they had a school where they would teach you, like, you know, how to move in the realm of the spirit, how to see in the spirit, how to astral travel, how to stargaze, how to read the stars and seasons. And there were schools to this, and people, like you said, would house you, and they would see a gift or a talent in you, and they say, yeah, I need to cultivate this because, this person's going to heal many people. This person's going to do a great work. And we don't see much of that anymore. That's few and far between. So that's a blessing that someone noticed that within you and wanted to do the work and wanted to take you on as a pupil. It's amazing.
It's really incredible. And what still kind of floors me to this day is, for the longest time, I never really knew what, this master who had developed so much over, the period of his life and his experiences, why he would spend thousands of dollars, why he would pour so much investment, so much of his life energy into me. What could he possibly be getting out of this? And, once I had kind of started to adopt new perspectives and I had gained more experience, I finally got it. I finally saw it was his gift to the world. And I thought that was just the most beautiful thing ever, is he wasn't doing this for what he could gain from it, but for what he could give to the world through me and my actions and my learning and development.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is just so pure and righteous.
Is he still with us today?
Yes, he is.
That's awesome. Yeah, again, like biblically, you would see the prophets who were trained in all types of wild, far out stuff that the common person didn't understand, but it allowed them to tap into powers unseen, and they were able to see in the spirit, move in the spirit, command it to rain, stop raining, command increase, touch barren wombs that weren't able to have children, and just miracle workers. And you would see someone like Elijah in the Old Testament, like take a young pupil, Elisha, and he passed his mantle down to him. Like, everything that I know, I'm going to pour into you so that you can take this, because I'm not going to be with you forever. I'm going to teach you, and I'm going to send you out and kind of go in and do the same thing. You teach somebody. And then we see someone like Christ that's like, versus like doing, one person, Christ is like, I got 12 of you guys. And there's a lot of people listening to me. There's a lot of people who are into what we're doing, but I'm going to pour into you 12. And I'm going to make you my disciples. Everything that I know, I'm going to share it with you openly. I'm not going to hide anything from you. Now, from the unthinking majority, they're not going to get most of this. Some of them will. They'll come. But even within that 12, there were like 3 that he kept really close to him, and he just like really poured in and discipled them. And I think that model is so beautiful. Even the number 12 with like having students and stuff, there was something special about that like I can't pour myself into 40 people. I'm sorry. I'm pretty good at what I do. I can teach you, but to really know you intimately and to check on you, I can't check on 40 people. 12 people in my circle, like that was almost like the magic number back then.
It's very interesting you say that, because the ancient Vedics of what we would call like modern day India, right? So they spoke of the 12 rishis, the Adi Yogi, the first yogi who came, and he had his 12 disciples who he instilled all the yoga, all the spirituality, all of these mystical and esoteric traditions that were then spread throughout the lands. And it was, and yes, like the number 12. And it's very interesting that this is not only just seen in one culture, but in multiple cultures over, a course of different civilizations.
Yeah. That's the beautiful thing, man. That's syncretism. And it's so powerful, it's so strong, and it helps us to get rid of dogma and to pay attention to those things that repeat itself. And if it's something that was true for one, and then you start seeing that repeated and echoed in other cultures and other religious faiths, because I talk about like eventually when you're on the path of the spirit, like you will eventually come to a lot of similar understandings and beliefs and theologies or whatever, just naturally by the spirit, how the spirit works, how it operates, how the spirit realm operates. So most of it's not privy. The spirit will teach you. The Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit, there's many different names, but there's a commonality. And I think it's so cool. And I've been able to do this on the podcast, is talk to people who were raised even on different parts of the flat earth, different parts of the planet, and come to they have a different background. They don't know anything, that they wasn't raised like I was raised. They weren't in church. They haven't even read the Bible. But there's these commonalities that we come to, whether you're Native American shaman, whether you're Hindu, whether you're a spiritual monk or or lack thereof. There's these beautiful universal laws, hermeticism, if you will, that's just sprinkled throughout every perspective and religion and faith and walk, and that's truth, man. Because people come to these same conclusions, and it's so beautiful when you study what we would call syncretism and find what makes us the same versus what makes us different. That was huge for me.
Exactly. I kind of had reached this certain point in my early development. I had been raised in a very oppressive and not so positive face of Christianity. And so that put a sour taste in my mouth for a long time. And I actually went through a phase where I was actually hateful towards it. Oh, yeah. And then I had studied and I soaked in these other cultures and these other esoteric traditions. And then at some point I kind of got to this realization that my first master actually brought me to, where he was like, so are you ready to let go your hate of that? Because if you hate Christianity, then by that very notion, you should hate Buddhism. You should hate everything else you've been taught, because they're one and the same. They're all connected. You should have the same love and understanding, and not have to cut yourself off from one limb when it's all part of the body. And, I kind of started to gain more wisdom the more I stopped being, exclusive and more inclusive.
Yeah, I know, right? Because a lot of people who, and you're not alone. I feel like that's a veil you got to pass through. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are there now. Everything is beautiful, all the other faiths, but when it comes to Christianity, they've conquered the land with the sword, or my father was a pastor who looked down upon me and was abusive. And there's all of these. I think it's just because it's the religion of our day. So most people have these bad experiences with it, or some good experiences, or both, most likely. But like you said, that's you can't really look at the religion or the practice in general. It's maybe a sect. It's maybe that sect of Christianity, or that church, even not even the whole sect or denomination, but that church that you were a part of put a bad taste in your mouth. Because the same things is to be said when we go to Islam or we go to the Hindu culture. There's people who are in it because they're spiritually taught, they're connected, they're in tune. And there's people who are just there. They're a part of the tares. The Bible talks about the wheat and the tares growing up together. Like, some people are really in it, but some people are just there because they're paying their dues. They don't get it, but it talks about not to separate them, because if you pull up the wheat and you gather the wheat, if you try to pull up the tares, you're going to pull up some of the wheat with it. So in due time, like, everything's going to come to full fruition. So not even to go out and try to find the fake ones, or find the ones who aren't spiritually enlightened, or who have, who are just there. But let them come up together, and that's really what we see. But it's in every religion and every practice. So to still be able to see the beauty in it is huge, especially coming back to it. We all have, there's people there now, and that's where I think that's where I come in. There's people who revisit the faith of their childhood, and they come back to it, because a lot of these things that we're going to be talking about, like, they're looked down upon in many of the Christian circles, but just because they never read it in the scriptures. There's some wild stuff in that book, man. These people were talking to angels. These people were casting out of demons. They were leaving their bodies. They were going into trances. They were in tune with the elements. They had angels travel through the fire and speak to them. So that's an elemental. They were doing all of this stuff that just because it's boxed in such a way, we look at it as not being a part of early Christianity, which was mystics. Dude, those guys were mystics, man. So that's where my heart is. That's why I started off, and it's really opened up for me to look into and explore other things, because I found references in the scriptures. I found different things that they're communing with lights in the sky. You know what I'm saying? They're communing with in deep meditation and sitting in silence, and in this practice of gratitude and mindfulness. It's like, wow, we should double down on that. Crystals in the Bible, divination in the Bible. Like, hold on, you guys said this was demonic. No, this is stuff that those guys practice and God smiled upon. So I'm in this place where I like to reclaim all of that beautiful stuff that Christianity tried to kick out the door, and just have reserved for the priest class or whatever behind closed doors, because they're doing that stuff behind closed doors. You know what I'm saying? Like the higher ups who are even practicing some form of mystical Christianity or some root of it, they're doing a lot of that stuff, behind closed doors. But they try to keep it, just to the priest class. And for me, that's one thing that Jesus brought us. He, shows you, listen, I'm tearing the veil between you and God. Like, you are your own priest. Everyone is a priest. And you have direct access to your creator. That's the most empowering thing I've ever heard in my life. Versus I have to come to you and talk to you kind of thing. Now, we get people that help us. We get people who are more skilled in areas that we're not as good at or learn. So we definitely have to work together. But to know that we have access to our creator, and we don't have to go through a priest, that's super empowering, man. That's what Christ came to bring, man, to teach people and to show them.
Spirituality and man are not separate, and that's the beautiful thing. What you're saying there is we all have access to that within ourselves. Mm-hmm. It's a very, very powerful thing.
Yeah, the priest is outside of you, but when you understand the kingdom is within you, and that you literally can close your eyes and explore the universe within. You go within to get without. That's how I like to put it. So I entitled this, I want to talk about it just a little bit more for a little bit, but I entitled this just coming up with something because it's big right now. I got so many friends who are exorcists. That's one of their main things, and they're casting out a lot of demons right now. I mean, bodily manifestations, people are screaming, their eyes are rolling in the back of their head, other voices, supernatural strength is coming upon people and are throwing stuff. Like, it's some pretty wild stuff. People who have never seen this, even in movies and stuff like that. But right now, there's a lot of oppression out there with the pandemic and a lot of fear tactics and a lot of stuff that's rising up. But I've never seen it as heightened and as popular and as much people as even I've done the research. People are searching this on Google a lot more. Like, it's up 170%. People searching demons and demonology and exorcisms right now. Where did you get into that? Now, have you had demons cast out of you? Have you been through it so you know what it's like? Is there an empathy to know what it is to be oppressed? So that's like natural. If they've come out of you, listen, I know what you're going through. I've been there. How do you get into that realm of exorcisms and casting out demons?
Well, it was one of the first teachers I had was very much so about opening my eyes to the spiritual dangers of the world and learning about spiritual attachments, learning about predatory entities. And I did quite a bit of like shadowing work and following him on cases and helping people. I also had my own set of challenges where I kind of screwed around early on and got myself, a little bit headstrong, started playing around with rituals that I really had no business doing, wasn't ready for yet, and ones that I probably shouldn't have even done to begin with. And I got myself possessed. How old was I? Yeah. I was probably, I want to say about 21, 22, somewhere around there. Be 31 this year. So, it was a while ago, not too long, but definitely a while ago.
Yeah.
And, I got, possessed by a Middle Eastern jinn. So that was something that happened. That was a very just horrible experience. Supernatural.
So what were the rituals? Were you just trying to make contact because you knew stuff existed? I mean, that's my story anyway.
I had gotten involved with an occult author by the name of Espen Kane.
Okay.
And had purchased one of his consecrated books that was specifically infernal jinn and how to summon them. There was nothing good in the sense of the word good with this book. I mean, they were all malevolent entities.
But what was it? Was it because the jinn are like the genie, right? Which is where we get the idea for the genie.
Yes.
That if you can get them to do stuff for you. Like if you find a magical lamp, a genie comes out, you get a wish. So people will try to capture these jinn and get money, power, wealth, jobs. Was it anything like that going into it?
So So in general, we have to understand first what jinn are. So jinn, for most people, understanding in relation would be, think of them as like cousins or a subspecies to fae or fairies. They kind of live within a similar dimension, very close to ours. They have like kings, they have tribes and clans, they have children. They have their own culture. They're very intelligent, and they very much so interact with our human existence as well. Now, what's really interesting about the jinn is the ones you were describing. Those would be what we would call blue jinn. And those are like the ones that King Solomon worked with, and like, had built the temple and etc. So those are blue jinn. Those can be like a sorcerer's kind of like right hand. They're not necessarily malevolent, but they have a will of their own, and they will certainly flex it if they feel like it. Now, there's also a class that we would call infernals. And these would be more in line with what you would consider to be a textbook demonic entity. These are not benevolent in any way, shape, or form. They wish destruction upon humanity. They have nothing other than the understanding of hatred. That is purely the vibrations that they live in. They shouldn't be worked with, conjured, or sought out for anything at all. And anyone that works with them is in for a rude surprise at some point. And I've seen it play out. I've had to help people with experiences with that, and I myself was afflicted by that. And so I had done a ritual that had called on a very specific one, and because, it would have gone bad either way, but because of the way I did it, I ignored that I was supposed to kind of contact the Big Daddy first and like ask permission to work with one of his like subordinates, and I didn't. And then the Big Daddy was like, well, you didn't want to listen, so huzzah. So I ended up.
What do you mean by Big Daddy? Like, is that like a head jinn, or do you mean the creator?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, like the head jinn of like that, like their king in that specific category of the infernals. And so that night I was trying, I closed out the ritual, and something just didn't feel right. I felt very uncomfortable. I also had some pictures where you could see this shadow mass in the corner, and there was a lot of phenomena that occurred that evening that was very interesting. There was like a sound of like a grenade going off in the backyard, and the shed that I was doing the rituals in, all the glass windows were busted out from the inside out. There was shattered glass everywhere, and really no plausible explanation for what happened there, but I would definitely say the ritual had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
So I had this, I have the silver ring. It was one of my first ritual artifacts that I was given, and it actually has the Anabagoic prayer on it. It's a silver ring, and it has Aramaic, and it has the Anabagoic prayer, 42-letter name of God on it. So I was wearing that, and I would wear that because mainly, one, the power and the protection of the Anabagoic prayer, and two, silver is kind of like kryptonite to some of these entities. Now, I had this urge to pull my silver ring off. It was like a very, very strong urge deep within me. And once I pulled it off, I felt, I wouldn't call it a punch. It's kind of hard to describe, but it was almost like this forceful pressure on my chest, and then it dissipated. And then my body felt very uncomfortable. And then my mind started to feel very uncomfortable. And then I noticed a shift within my personality. And I felt like I wasn't alone, even though I was alone. But when I say felt like I wasn't alone, I meant like in my own head, in my own body. And that kind of escalated over days. I went into like this manic cycle where I did not eat and I did not sleep, and it should not have been possible. But for 7 days and 7 nights, I was doing ritual work that I did not understand or comprehend, but I felt that it was incredibly important. I had family members that were concerned, and they were coming out there and try to get me to eat. they would try to get me to stop what I was doing. And I would tell them, no, I'm working. I need to do my work. And eventually my grandmother, the one who's very spiritual, the curandera, she said, mijo, something very dark is in you. Something very dark is here, and I don't like it, and you need to make it go away. It watches me at night. I see it stare through my window, and it stares at me, and it knows it can't come in the house, and it waits for you every time you come outside the house, but it's still inside you. And so, I ended up taking on this approach of actions that I never would have done. And it was really interesting because I had this diluted sense of grandeur and this physical power. At one point, there was this steel beam by the school that I would like go by sometimes and like just kind of hang out late at night and think. And I remember punching it, and I dented it in, this solid steel beam. I dented it in with my bare fist. And I remember I sent pictures. I had this like purple energy that was all around me that was picked up in photos, and I sent it to one of my teachers, and my teacher's first reaction was, that's not your energy. And I hadn't told him anything about what was going on with me. And his first reaction was, that's not your energy. What did you do? And so over the course of like maybe a week, I was basically telling him to just screw off. And I was like pushing him out of my life. Yeah. And he kind of let me for a little bit. Yeah. But then at one point he came back and he was like, look, I'm going to kind of take control here, and we're going to make this stop, but I need you to follow my directions, and I need you to follow them in a very particular manner. And one of them was taking the ritual objects that were all involved in that original ritual, and I had to burn them. It had to be cleansed through fire. Mm-hmm. And then while that was happening, I had this place that I went to. I wouldn't even say in my mind, because it was beyond what my consciousness could comprehend as like the mental plane of thought and existence. Yeah. I got trapped somewhere. Yeah. It was not dark in the sense of darkness, but it was empty, and it was cold, but not in the sense of like temperature. It was just in every way, shape, and form. It was lonely, and it was empty, and it was really scary, and there was nothing there, but there was only terror, and there was only fear. It's very hard to explain, but it was a place I would never want to go back to ever again.
How was you there? Was this something that you just felt your soul was there, or was you literally
my soul was there?
Was you transported there? Like, where that's
I know my
the
body
only place
was
that
still
you existed in your mind? Like
in my mind, yes, it was the only place I existed.
Okay, so how long did you stay there?
I would say, judging from the conversations I later had recapping with my teacher, I was probably there for almost a year.
A year. Okay, so you were still functioning as almost like a robot.
Yes, actually.
Something was controlling you almost. Like you can
I ended
see
up
it,
in a mental hospital.
Really... Yeah.
I ended up in a mental hospital, and I had a very, very close friend who came and visited me. And I had asked him afterwards, because first we got to back up for a second. We got to take into account that I ended up getting small bits of memory back. There's a lot of that time that I still don't remember. But in that period of time, I kind of experienced what they would call episodic amnesia. I knew how to eat. I knew how to do basic things that my body had learned how to do, but I had no recollection of my self-identity, no memories, nothing. I was just this blank slate. And that was something I came to remembering, was being blank. So there was a period before that I don't remember. But I had asked my friend who came and visited me while I was in the mental hospital, I was like, whoa, why did you only come and visit me once? And he broke down and he started crying. And he said, I only came and visited you once because when I came and I visited you, I was warned about the condition you were in, and I had to see it for myself. And you were smearing your own feces against the wall, and you were talking in gibberish and not making sense. I don't remember that, but this friend wouldn't lie to me and just say something like that. So it was very interesting because though I don't remember what my body was clearly going through, my mind was suffering somewhere else.
Yeah. And the only thing you did was open up a portal. Now, was there any drug use involved with it, or?
There was mushrooms involved.
Okay.
Mushrooms that I didn't know were laced, and they were laced with PCP.
Mm-hmm.
But
that shouldn't send you in a psychosis for that long. You know what I'm saying?
I ate 2 ounces, unaware that I ate 2 ounces.
Yeah.
Which is a lot.
So mixing that with the ritual. Now,
yes.
what type of life was you living? Was you like a straight-laced guy, or was you lying, cheating, stealing, that kind of stuff mixing with it? Because that totally, in my experience, has a lot to do with it too. Because you get to see what you're entertaining, like, you know what I'm saying? Like when you tap in.
I'd say I was confused. I wanted to do good. I was helping people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my curiosity would sometimes get the best of me, and I would see, well, if I can do this, why not? You know, and so it wasn't that I was quote unquote bad, but I did like to test things more than I probably needed to, just to see what would happen.
Yeah. It's interesting, dude. I had similar encounters. Didn't last for a year, but talking about going into like this other realm of like someplace foreign. Terror was definitely there. The word terror that you used. It was cold because my physical body would get cold. Like I couldn't operate. Like when I was there, and it was at the will of whatever entities were pulling me in this portal. In the middle of watching a movie with my girlfriend, and I'd go numb, go cold. There's a movie, and it's so weird because there's something to the television as being a portal or projector from the spirit world. But there's a movie we watched called Stir of Echoes, and the guy was being communicated with by a spirit that had passed away. But whenever she would communicate, he would turn pale, get real cold. He would breathe out frost and stuff or whatever in the air, and he would get pale, and it'd start talking to him, and he'd get scared or whatever. And like that happened to me, like doing these rituals, trying to open up a portal to whatever entity. Like because I knew that the spirit world was so real, I was doing all of them. I was doing the Wiccan stuff. I was doing Satanism, whatever we could find, angel magic, just to try to get something. Really, honestly, I wanted something to appear before me and commune with me, like a physical entity. But I didn't know that, they want access to your mind. They want to live in your psyche, a part of your brain. And it's almost like none of them worked until they all worked. And then I opened some portal, and then I'd be sucked in. I'd be crying. I can't breathe. And my girlfriend's like shaking me, and I'd come back. They're speaking foreign languages. There's colors. There's shapes. There's several of them trying to talk at once. And it's like, oh, and it was demonic. It was scary. Like the veil between, my realm and theirs was very thin, and I couldn't control it. And maybe it would be sexy or something if we can control it. At will, I'm going to visit and see what they would say. And, maybe there is a right way to do that. I'm sure there's a right way to do that. There is. But for me as a misguided teen, I was going schizophrenic. They would talk to me through other people's eyes, which was, again, I know I can tell you movies that would seem to the devil's advocate. Stuff that I seen in movies was happening to me. And I'm thinking now, did those movies open up that portal into my life? Because there was a spirit of hypochondria that every sickness that I heard on the television, I thought I had it. Like an overwhelming sense that I was about to die from that, whether it was brain cancer, testicular cancer, whatever. We'd be flipping through the channels, and a news program would be on, and some guy goes to the hospital for testicular, and I got it. An overwhelming belief of faith that I absolutely had this, and I was going to die, could not get it out of my head. I was being beat up, man, and I was going to have to go to the hospital. I knew I was, like, my breathing patterns got really bad. I had to make myself breathe a lot of times, and they would pull me in and out of those trances, and I'd be coughing up blood. My health started deteriorating. Wasn't eating. We were eating ramen noodles for like weeks on end, and I know that's not healthy. So all of that stuff mixed with stealing, lying, cheating, robbing people, mixed with spiritual work and, hey, what spirits are out there? I want to say hello. Wasn't a good concoction, and I found myself possessed, vexed, or demonized, if you will, as well. And I didn't go to the doctor. I ended up getting into the phone book and calling churches because I knew that it was demonic, and I had been a Christian before, so I knew that there were people who were skilled in casting out demons. So I called 17 churches. One of them called me back, and that was in September of 2000 that I rededicated my life back to Christ and ended up working through that and getting demons casted out of me. And now, look at me now, like, I'm doing that for other people, helping other people explain and get through it and talk them through it and let them, know that they're not crazy, and this is something that happens, man. And it's more common than we know, but maybe not to that extent, right? Those are pretty extreme cases, a lot of it's mild, so much so that, hey, you don't have a demon, it's just part of your personality kind of thing.
What you described was what my teacher had referred to as space neuroses. And it's usually it's brought on through magical means. And what it is it's this process that the consciousness goes to where it gets spread too far, too fast, and then those divided energies kind of get influenced from multitudes of entities, multitudes of planes, dimensions, etc. Your consciousness is just too divided, too spread out, and it fractures you across timelines. It destroys you. And sometimes the sad truth is sometimes there's no coming back from that.
I know.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah, no,
very
for sure.
dangerous.
For sure, 100%. I couldn't look nobody in the eyes. I couldn't talk to anyone. I'd go in public with my grandmother to get groceries, and I couldn't look nobody in the face, and like everybody was looking at me, and I knew things about them, so it was a heightened sense of intuitiveness and being able to see in the spirit. And you're supposed to be able to kind of manage that stuff and kind of ease into it, kind of thing. But when everything is
build a foundation,
everything's at 100. You're in a realm. Yep. There's spirits. There's demons. We know we got somebody who can hear us. And dude, it was super. Like I scarcely made it out, dude, for real.
That's why I really stress when I'm taking on students and I'm teaching them in the beginning, because they want to go straight to summoning spirits. They're learning magic. They're like, teach me how to summon spirits. I'm like, you know what? The first thing we need to learn is grounding. And I need you to be very well grounded. I need you to learn how to control your energies. I need you to learn so many different crucial foundational skills before we even talk about summoning your first spirit, which was something that I was taught and I just disregarded. And then my teacher had to pick up the broken pieces. And that was a very, very avoidable lesson. And I had been warned multiple times. I didn't listen. And that was the fruits that I harvested.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I want to touch on that you were saying about, dispossession that you experienced, like, it's really interesting. You said that there was something in you, like doing all of these rituals, like you're almost on autopilot, like summoning stuff. And it's almost like you got possessed and the entity's working through you to try to bring more spirits through.
Yes.
They use you as a vehicle to try to open up more portals and get more entities in through this realm, which is very interesting that I noted when you said that.
Yeah. One of the things my teacher had told me years afterwards, we had just kind of like this sit down conversation at some point where I'd finally kind of reached a point in the past few years where I was able to really work through the trauma and heal from that to the point where I can actually talk about this with you today and not be triggered.
Yeah.
That took a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I'm sure for you as well.
Did you have to now did you just renounce and stay away from everything after that because you barely made it out?
No.
You went right back in?
Well, in a more responsible way.
I couldn't be around incense. I couldn't be around people smoking weed. I couldn't smell liquor. Like I had like that stuff. Because I barely made it out, I didn't want to be around anything that resembled anything demonic or lower level. I couldn't hear certain music. Music would trigger me. Walking in a tattoo shop and hearing I couldn't, nothing. I was so sensitive right when I came out of it and scared and wanted to protect that peace that I had now found. But not you. Once you got your right mind about you, you went back in.
To an extent, I would say, I both went deeper and not at the same time. So my practice became more refined, more responsible, became more educated, really created that foundational base. Now I can travel at will consciously to these places. Now I can work with spirits, and I actually don't really do a lot of work with spirits anymore because I don't need to. I can do a lot of the things with my own energy. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I say. Like, I went deeper and also not at the same time. So I learned a lot more that I could do on my own, but because I am a teacher and I do get some students who come to me to learn very specific things, and because I know that they're going to go and try to learn these things with or without my help. So the best thing I could do is I could teach it to them properly. Yeah. And so that's kind of one of the things that I started doing was, let's say, okay, well, how can I teach them to do what it is they're trying to do that I see no point in doing anymore, but responsibly and without having to learn the hard way like I did. So I kind of, got more familiar with certain different approaches. I do avoid very specific path workings like Peo Meombe, Vudan, things like that, just because like concepts of, certain like Sufi magics and etc. There are certain path workings that I just will not visit, touch, or entertain in any way, shape, or form, because I have nothing to gain from that and everything to lose. But I do a lot of work with like a certain, in Theravada traditions and like the Khmer Lana forest region of Thailand, they have specific which they refer to the like ajarns, like lay people with power will practice. And, there's some types of spirits that I'll work with. And there are things that I'll do now that, that might have triggered me back then, but like, I'm good now. I'm in a healthy place. Like I can do this stuff responsibly. And I think that's kind of like one of the things that's different today is that I know how to behave. Mm-hmm. It's the best way to put it.
Me too. People will say, a lot of people say I went back to the same things that I made it out of or whatever, but trust me, there's levels. I'm no way, shape, or form affiliated or trying to do anything similar to that at all by any means. But people don't know how to, they say, TruthSeekah came out of witchcraft and now he's back in it and all this kind of stuff. It's like, hold on, listen, like for me, like I said, just going back to the beginning, and I have like a plumb line, which is the Bible for me, right? Because when I'm a student of the scriptures and a devotee of the Lord Jesus Christ, and like I follow him, you know what I'm saying? Everything his spirit continues to teach me. And not just me, many other people, but there's a safety, you know what I'm saying? There is a protection there. There's a light there that I'm not trying to get over on something. Like that was when we're talking about witchcraft really is, from a biblical definition, is talking about manipulation, trying to manipulate people, trick people. Even a lot of witchcraft is like, there's a lot of fake, just regular magic in it. Like, let me blow your mind so that you can give me money. And there's nothing tangible there, but I've tricked you in a sense. And you have a lot of technology going on, even in churches and things. So there's a lot of churches that I found that are operating, quote unquote, in manipulation or witchcraft than someone trying to work with the angels or work or do spiritual work, casting out demons, whatever it is, ancestral clearings and stuff like that. So I use that for my sanity, you know what I'm saying, to protect myself, to not open up any doors, but not to shut down the spiritual authority that we have as humans and as sons and daughters of God, man. And we look and we read these texts, and there's a right way and a wrong way to do things, 100%.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think, one of the really interesting things you were kind of saying there, right there, with the witchcraft and et cetera, is, regardless of the culture, the traditions, et cetera, that you're coming from, there needs to be a general underlying factor, which is understanding the terminology, right? So what you're saying, because, what I practice and call witchcraft is very different than what you're calling witchcraft.
Yeah.
Because that's not at all what I do. I'm not practicing or following that.
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting. It's like, okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying too.
Yeah.
Like what you guys are saying TruthSeekahs back into witchcraft. Hold on. And so my reply, cynical reply, is witchcraft. Witchcraft.
Yeah.
He's into witchcraft. Witchcraft. Which one?
Yeah. Semantics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. These days, the main thing that I do, so I do a lot of like hypnosis work and helping people work through trauma and kind of rewrite their neurology and the subconscious programming in their bodies,
which is
healthier.
Huge right now, and it's showing amazing results.
Yes. So helping people, heal from psychological traumas and become healthier versions of themselves. I also do a lot of like paranormal casework, removing entities from homes, removing entity attachments, doing energy healings on people and in their homes as well. And then teaching people spiritual practices for protecting themselves and also for protecting their energy and cultivating their energy. So really the main thing that I do these days is I teach people how to be healthier and I teach people how to protect themselves. That's really kind of like all that I'm doing these days.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Me too. And we have access to some pretty beautiful stuff and it's showing through. I'm gonna want to put this out there. I'm gonna let, if anybody has any questions, post them in the chat and I will ask them for Sadhu or myself. Just let me know, post it there in the chat. And if anybody who is a patron and wants to come on and join the chat, video chat with us or ask a question live, you guys have the Zoom link, which is on our Patreon. So you guys have the ability to do that as well. I see some of you guys in the chat now. So I want to make sure I put that out there. So let me know if you guys have any questions and I'll ask them, or if you want to join the conversation, we'll open that up too. We're about an hour in now. So spirit clearing, and let's see. So let me see what you call it. Crossing, spirit crossing. It's something that I'm new to. Don't know how much I believe it. Had a wild dream about my. It was very symbolic, but my uncle, who lived a very bad life, drug addiction, cirrhosis of the liver, so much stuff going on, and he had in my dream he passed away, and in my dream he came to me and came home, quote unquote, from prison. He's like, oh, I've been in prison, I just came home for 15 years, and come look it up, he had been passed away for 15 years. I'm looking at this prison analogy like some type of purgatory, that I had to stay here and be refined and learn or whatever before I can cross over, and it really seemed like he was reaching out to cross over, like I was the only one who would be skilled or open to do something like that. What is your opinion on that dream, and then just helping spirits to cross over and your experience with that?
Well, from some of the cases I've done and, kind of my own experiences, I would say that was like a communication. And he had kind of gotten himself stuck, just to kind of use a general term, in what we refer to as like the lower astral. And in the lower astral, he ended up kind of, it's a realm of imagination. So he kind of like created the idealized prison for himself. not necessarily intentional, but the mind is a powerful thing. And so is the focalized energy, but without a body, just in spirit. And he found himself there, and then by the grace of God, or whatever you want to say, made his way out and kind of reached out to you because, like, oh snap, my nephew can see me, could hear me, I could communicate with him. So that's kind of my spin on that.
Yeah.
And with my process with crossing spirits is I will generally kind of I'll give you a loose outline for like a technique I use. So what I do is I open the Lao Gong points, the energy points, if we're using Taoist terminology, from the centers of my hands. I get my chi flowing, and then with this, I can kind of sculpt and I can use the energy. I can create like these long rake-like fingers. I can lasso spirits. I can do all kinds of things with it. This is also part of a cultivation of like Qigong and, these practices that I've developed and learned over time. And I will grab the spirit, and then I'll kind of open a door, which I know that it goes to a higher dimension where they are then processed and sent along their way in whichever way, shape, or form it's happening by a creator. I don't specifically know where every spirit goes. I just know once they go through there, they're no longer trapped on the earthbound plane, and they go to their next lesson.
Now,
so
what types of spirits are these? So would these be human spirits or lesser
human
spirits?
Human spirits I do a lot of crossing with because they are usually the ones that will still communicate in an intelligible way, and usually are attached to a loved one or are bound within a place that a loved one has an interaction with them, like the home, if they're not attached to like the loved one specifically, things like that. But also you have what are called wraiths, and wraiths are the corrupted essence of a human spirit. So it's become its own suffering. Like, let's say a suicide or a murder victim, or somebody that was very lower vibrational energy. They were very just filled with hate and anger their whole life, or they were fueled by jealousy. And then they become that very feeling that dominated them at the end of their life, or had prevailed as the dominant sensation and emotional fuel that carried them through life. And they're not intelligibly able to communicate with you. And it's kind of just coming at you from that emotional perspective. So what I do in that case is I just cross them over without even like trying to engage with them or make it a comfortable experience, because they're not really comprehending what's going on. They're just in a state of suffering.
So would that be considered for some people like a haunting or a ghost or something like that, where it's like almost like a loop of something, a way somebody died, that it's like, it almost seems like there's a recording that's embedded in the ether that just keeps playing over and over? Is it do you think it's literally that person's spirit, or is it some kind of recording that is played because it was so much of a increase in the energy in that area? What do you think is going on there? Because it almost seems like if you was to go there and get rid of it, then it wouldn't happen again. And you have ghost tours and things like that, where people see a lot of wild stuff where stuff's happened. But if an exorcist or somebody was to go there and to get rid of that, do you think that would keep going, or how would that play out?
Well, so you have an intelligent haunting, which is going to be entity based, and that can be removed and dealt with. But then you also have like these echoes, there's these imprint hauntings, where it's not necessarily something you can interact with, and it is kind of playing on a loop. And depending on several different factors, and this is where we get into like some of the things that I was taught as far as the paranormal work goes. And that's, okay, well, what is the geographic location? What's the mineral composition underneath the ground? Several different factors, like where it's not, let's say there's a lot of quartz in the earth there. So that energy is imprinted in the quartz and it's just amplified. And then let's say this is an area geographically that gets a lot of thunderstorms. And so you have like lightning that strikes the land that charges this quartz even more. And so you start getting into and then it's being fueled by lunar cycles and etc. And so like there's all these different factors that play in that can kind of enhance or limit the energy or interaction of a haunting, and then whether it's an intelligible haunting or if it's an imprint or echo type of haunting. And so that kind of also factors into what can we do, what's the approach, you know, what's really going to be the best resolution in that kind of case. So you could ground out energies in an echo. It doesn't mean you'll necessarily completely get rid of it, but you can kind of diminish the power of it with like iron nails driven into the ground, kind of disrupting some of the charge of the mineral composition, just things like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. My wife went to a ghost tour or whatever in New Orleans, and they were taking her around, and she saw some stuff. They were telling her that the individual passed a certain way, but my wife actually saw like the loop or whatever was going on in a different light, seen it happen differently, and seen a girl falling off of a roof or balcony or something like that, which was something interesting. So many types of spirits, right? You got poltergeists, you got disembodied spirits, there's
poltergeists
so
are human made. They come from living humans. It's usually the psychic emanation of a prepubescent or pubescent child, or an individual that is very heavily psychically like restrained, right? And so this energy, it's kind of similar to like a tulpa, if you're familiar with what a tulpa is.
Yes, 100%.
So so it becomes like sentient almost. And usually if you can vent the pressure and the psychic charge from that individual, or you can address the needs that in the way that they're being energetically restrained, the poltergeist itself will resolve and diminish.
Yeah. Interesting. Guys, everybody who's watching this, I need y'all to click that like button, click the thumbs up button, because what the algorithms will do is it will show this video to more people. And this is a really good episode. This is really good discussion that a lot of people need to know, tapping into the spirit world. And so there's a bunch of people watching. Make sure you guys click that thumbs up for me real quick, wherever you are watching, Facebook, YouTube. I see you guys. We got a bunch of people watching. So make sure you click thumbs up for me. We got my friend Richie is here with us too, and on Zoom. Good friend of mine. He's one of my administrators and admins and mods, and good friend. Welcome, Richie. You got a question or anything to interject for the conversation?
Gratitude, absolutely. Yeah, many blessings, Sadhu. Thank you for your time today for the interview. Excellent conversation. Anchoring to what you said about grounding, and then kind of playing off things in the chat. Would there be any simple grounding techniques you could recommend for people to kind of embody themselves, since that would be one of the foundational stones to start building from? Gratitude.
Yes, actually, that's a really, really good question. Thank you for asking that. I would say one of the grounding techniques that you could kind of start to implement is anytime you feel like you're in a floaty headspace, or anytime you're doing any sort of ritual work, or you're engaging the energies in a way that kind of piques you, so to speak, afterwards, focusing on the feet, getting out in nature, getting those feet, just really focusing on the feet, getting yourself grounded in that aspect mentally, as well as doing physical tasks, eating food. These are very basic things you can do. There's also a few different breath work techniques you can do. Pranayams like Simha Kriya, which is like a breathing in and exhaling with the tongue hanging out all the way, mouth open. So 21 times, almost like you're hyperventilating, and then taking the tongue to the roof of the mouth, doing that for 21 breaths. And then you'll take in a deep breath, and then you'll hold that as long as you comfortably can. And you're going to pressurize and hold tension in the body. And then when the body naturally allows it, then you exhale, and you'll notice you'll actually feel like you're doing the opposite, because you'll get really floaty. You might almost black out, and it's going to feel very intense, but you'll notice after about a minute or two, your body's going to adjust. You're going to enter a parasympathetic response. It may feel like you're having an anxiety attack. You'll purge trauma out of the body, and you're going to come forward in your awareness and presence so much stronger. There's a lot happening there: blood flow, oxygenation to organs, etc. It's a very powerful grounding technique and healing technique as well. Does that kind of help explain a little bit?
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing this insight. Much appreciation.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Yeah, we love us some breath work, man. We've been having fun. I lead breath work on Sunday mornings with one of our the Mystic Circle, and we always have fun going starting off with some deep breath work, and then just going into the meditation, kind of going into that place where we commune with the great spirit there and get downloads and reset and recalibrate for the week, which is needed for sure. And breath work is amazing, and a lot of this stuff's
Breath is
becoming
key.
it's more popular now, right? It's catching on. Like a lot of this stuff, a lot of people are talking about it, and it's not even just taboo anymore. Like you're watching like basketball coaches lead their whole team on like mindfulness meditations and clearing their mind, and even breath work and float tank centers and all of the stuff that's catching on, which is amazing. Would you say?
Wim Hof. Yeah.
Wim Hof is huge. Yeah.
And that's what's so interesting to me is none of this is new. So I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been done for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Breath work, oh my gosh, it's key. You want to talk about a way to develop, super strong psychic abilities, a way to heal yourself, a way to connect to creator, just so many things. What does breath work not do? I'd say it's a cornerstone of practice. It should be in every magician or spiritual healer's toolkit.
Yeah,
breath work is huge.
Yeah, when I started incorporating breath work, see, I got really good at just going into meditation and going into that trance with just quieting the mind and focusing on the clean black slate in front of you. But it's like when you do breath work first and then do the meditation, or incorporate your breath work as part of the meditation, it's like you can go deeper, faster, and it helps the body get into the trance state, that relaxed state where you're able to receive and to go in and explore. So like you said, it's like 101 whenever you're doing any type of meditation, even if it's little small stuff, like it doesn't have to be some long drawn out crazy thing that you do. Just focusing on the breath and finding some of the ones that you can have in your arsenal that you like to do, and experimenting with it and playing with it is amazing.
Definitely agree. Cannot
talk
state
a little
the
bit about your
importance of
music,
it.
man, because you do hip hop as well, and that's what I do. And we talked about maybe working together, and I'm trying to think of what I have open right now again for my upcoming album, and the title track White Magic, as far as right now, is open. And it's interesting you mentioned the Kuranderu, because there's a sample at the beginning of that track White Magic about the Kuranderu and about the holy man in that tradition. So it's almost like synchronistic. I was thinking about, should I put you on that one? And then you mentioned that your grandmother is a part of that, and I thought that was kind of like confirmation, man. So we definitely should do some work
Synchronicity,
together.
man. Yeah, I'm all about that. So my music moniker is Da Free, DAH, and then there's a little space there, FRE. I have 7 albums out. Let's see. I'm not too sure how many songs I have, because some of them have 10. Then I had like one that was like an LP or whatever, and that was like 3. But yeah, my music kind of spans across storytelling. Like for example, on the Storyteller Arrives album, I have a song called Hollow Skull, and so if you couldn't tell by the scrubs, so I work overnights right now at a medical facility, and I specialize in taking care of patients with Alzheimer's and dementia, and it's incredibly rewarding work, especially being a healer, and it's also very sad at the same time,
Yes.
watching people being erased in their mind, and their family
If
members
if
grieving
I'll
them.
be honest with you, that's one doubt that I have, that we carry this life with us, or this existence, is the dementia. Like almost just the fact that like your mind, your consciousness, your memories, everything's being erased. But the notion that once you cross, you pop back. Oh wow, I remember everything now, and I'm fully cognitive. It's like it's kind of hard to put 2 and 2 together, like almost like consciousness not being a part of the brain, if you will, or the brain not having anything to do with your memory, and going into eternity or whatever happens on the other side. That is something that I question. Is pretty scary.
Yeah, I would say, the the ego identity, one of the rules to being here in this physical world is you got to have a physical body and you got to have an ego. And an ego is not a bad thing. It's one of the rules. You have to have this this individualized identity, this personality, right?
To play that game, yeah.
And exactly. And one of the scary things is knowing that Da is a single expression. This is only one time ever.
Yeah.
And this is temporary. And one day it will not be anymore. But the fuel that is coming into Da's body that has me here in this world, that's limitless. It's one with Creator, right? So one day I'll be returned, but the very same energies that fuel my body right now, though they may disappear, they're not gone forever. They're just reshaped. It's kind of like atoms, Do you
think that the ego and the personality is with that though? Because I mean, when we're talking about spirits, they seem to have personalities, They seem to have a function and a job, if you will. So, the ego thing is hard to get away from because I don't want to be another person. I don't want to reincarnate with another family. Like I like this life that I've created and my family, my wife, my kids. I don't want another one. Like, and obviously there comes a time where you're going to have to say goodbye, right? Or you don't get to say goodbye. Let's say that, that's part of this living every day like it's precious, you know what I'm saying? Because the fact that you get to say goodbye is not promised, if you will. But yeah, just the identity. Like, do you think that we retain some that fuel? Does it have your thumbprint on it or your personality?
Oh yeah,
anywhere you go in the world.
The soul remembers. The Vedics refer to the term samskar. I don't know if you're familiar with that term. So a samskar is kind of like the spiritual grooves, right? So let's say many lives you were a healer, and then you've done work towards that, and you've kind of built on that, and then you come into this life and you're a natural healer. Well, it's not the first time you were ever a healer. So it's because there's been this building of grooves cut in to help develop you. And sure, your personality is going to be different every time, but little parts of who you've been, where you've been, are going to kind of make their way, whether you're aware of it or not, whether it's dominant or not. There's going to be these little specks that are just kind of like, hey, this is still the color blue, even if it's a different shade of blue. There's that tint there. Mm-hmm. And if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%. So somebody says here in the chat, it's never truly goodbye. Have you heard of the band Spirit Box? It's a band I'm really into right now. Write this down. There's a Spirit Box, and the song is Constance. And
right there in my
the song is Constance, and it's about losing a loved one to dementia. And the video, the way that they do the video is like, it's gonna make you cry. This stuff just starts getting erased, and it's a very
Constance.
Yeah, Spirit Box, Constance. Spirit Box is one of my favorite bands, and it was funny on the School of the Mystics. I think last week or the week before, we were talking about working out in the gym, and they were like, we work out listening to TruthSeekah. When we work out, TruthSeekah, what do you work out listening to? And so I was like, people want to know what I listen to. I listen to Spirit Box. Spirit Box is amazing. If you go to Spotify or just all their new music within the probably last 6 songs or so, amazing, phenomenal, beautiful roller coaster metal with a female fronted metal, but there's a lot of singing in it too. So I definitely recommend that band, and I recommend that video. And try not to cry, I'll tell you that, because I can't. I've seen it several times and I cry every time.
Everyone I've ever showed Hollow Skull to has cried. It's the perspective of a person who's a loved one watching.
Is there a video of this or just a song?
It's just a song, but oh my gosh, I need to make a video for it. But I want to do it right.
What part of the flat Earth are you located?
I'm located in Bellingham, Washington.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I'm joking about the flat Earth thing. I just got to. Let's play it, man. Let me just go ahead and listen to it and vibe out to it for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and share the audio real quick on the Zoom so we both can hear it, and we'll let the listeners hear it, and I'll hear it for the first time myself because we got the technology to do so. So here is Hollow Skull by Da Free. Check it out. Let's vibe to it.
Hollow skull, nothing but a hollow skull. He'd be depressed, but he forgot what that is. He even forgot how to open lids. Grandkids are just strangers to him. Memory fails him. There's notes on the fridge, but he doesn't remember writing them. His granddaughter's the only one who takes care of him. Death doesn't dare to mess with him. For what is there to take from a hollow skull in the first place? Hollow skull. How can a story be told by a man too frail and old? Can't remember, eyes show no glow. He's a lost soul with a hollow skull. Most folks call him Carl though. And Carl was a really good man who lived a really good life. Gave everything he had, this is what life gave back. A hollow skull. A hollow skull is what he has. A hollow skull drained of all memory long ago. Didn't even know the point where he forgot whatever he knows. Hollow is as hollowed as the house where Alzheimer's falls. Hollow skull. I don't know who you are, why are you in my house? Papa, we do this every day, she says frustrated, filled with pain. Hollow skull, come to claim. This is why the family, they stopped coming. He'll never notice, they kept saying. But a hollow skull can still feel pain. More than the tears they cry, what they say. A hollow skull, why haven't you died today? Hollow skull. It's the haunting tick of the clock, grinds to a halt. This is the day granddaughter stops. He can't even wait for his time to go. For him it's still 40 years ago. 20 today, maybe 10 in a few minutes. There's all versions of Carl blending. Carl's brain is a smoothie. He used to be scintillating, full of life and grooving. But as he changed, distance became. That hollow skull became farther away. His brain no way to claim. Carl, wake up. That's not my name. Last thing granddaughter heard him say. Hollow skull. Now he sits in a chair rocking, forgetting to eat because his stomach's forgotten. Just like him and his brain became rotten. They found him in the rain. Nobody knew his name. A shallow grave. Please, just call him Carl. He was a granddaddy. He was a father. People loved him. Back when he could remember what love was. And as this hollow skull we lay to rest, he's tired and old. In his mind, he's still a young lad. There's a beauty being trapped in those younger memories. The hollow skull forever immortalized by the tone of the memories that glow. Looped, playing forever on hold. Most just call him Carl though. You call him a cold, hollow skull. Carl, please wake up. Dad, please wake up. Grandpa, please wake up. You're not a hollow skull to me. Hollow skull.
That's beautiful, man.
Thank you.
Capturing those stories. Now, were those personal stories that you heard, or you could change the names and situations, but they just kind of, it's many people's story, it seems like.
It's many people's, and I kind of just took all those experiences together to tell one story.
That's deep, man. Yeah, and it is sad, but it's part of it, man. We signed up for it, you know.
Yep.
Because, you know, when you come here, whenever we come here, we're in this place of forgetfulness. You know, maybe back in heaven or the place we go in between, we know we're cognitive, right? We remember our past lives and what we've experienced and accomplished or whatever. But then we take on that, say, hey, I'm ready to go another round. I'm ready to be tossed in this sea of forgetfulness and come there and try it again. And but we forget when we're incarnated, and then we learn and we remember. There's a sermon by T.D. Jakes. It's called "I Didn't Know I Was Me," which is really deep because he breaks down, like, he uses the Bible to show, like, whenever Jesus called disciples and he came to them, it's like they heard his voice and they remembered his voice. Like, before they were incarnated, it was something in them. They remembered who they were, and he spoke to them, and it's this familiar echo that they were called before they were formed here. And T.D. Jakes has a beautiful way of putting that sermon. It brings you to tears, but it empowers you to know that, listen, I come here with a job. You know, I come here with a chance and an opportunity to do something great. And when I hear that call, I'm going to say yes to it because I remember it. Really, really beautiful sermon if you guys get a chance to listen to it. What do you think about Elon Musk and Neuralink? Because one of the things that he said that Neuralink would be able to do would be able to kind of hack the brain or fix the brain and possibly eliminate Alzheimer's and dementia. What do you like? People can keep their family members or bring them back. What do you think about? Are we getting into weird territory, or is that a gift from the gods? What do you think? Because obviously other stuff's coming with it, a lot of other stuff, but that's something that seems tempting. What do you think about Neuralink in that regard?
Well, I think at a certain point, you know, our technology becomes part of us, right? So you know, most people can't function without a smartphone these days, you know, and it becomes intrinsically just, it becomes part of us. It becomes an extension of ourselves. And I think inherently technology is great. You know, it's not good, it's not bad. It's very much so dependent upon the user and the intention behind it. And I think it could be a beautiful thing. I think it could be something very powerful, but I also see how there could be ways that, you know, these new forms of technology, and, you know, people talk about like the cloud, you know, for consciousness and stuff like that, and all the stuff that could possibly be on the horizon. We don't really know yet, you know, we'll find out when we get there. But at some point you got to kind of wonder, isn't there a natural beauty and rawness to the fragility of our nature of being animals? And the more that we get away from that, the more that we kind of try to separate ourselves from that, are we not also taking away our spirituality? Are we not making ourselves more disconnected from God's source, from what's within ourselves, by all these distractions and these ways of making ourselves feel more machine-like and integrated? Yeah. I mean, that's kind of my little tangent. I could go on there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a part of it, you know. You know, how reliant we are, just like you said with the smartphones, how reliant we are upon technology. We always act like there's something coming. It's like, hold on, it's already here, and it's been here ever since you were a child, and generations past as we start integrating with machines and technology. And you know, we're in a weird place too, because like I really like Jacques Fresco, with the Venus Project, and pretty much using a socialist idea of let's use technology to help evolve mankind, to let's build our houses in such a way where the same water that we wash our hands with is now the same water we use to flush our toilets, and this sustainable resource-based economy where we work together. And again, just the thing that just blows my mind and makes super sense is like, I don't need a shovel, and my neighbor needs a shovel, and his neighbor needs a shovel. Listen, I have a shovel, and you all can use it because I only use it once a month, if that. Like, my shovel just is there. If anybody needs it, you can come get it if you need it. And it was very much this idea of how the Native Americans worked, right? If someone had a canoe, that's what the idea of an Indian giver comes from. You know, if you give somebody something and take it back. Jacques Fresco talks about they gifted him with a canoe when he went and spent time amongst the natives. And then he never used it. And then in the middle of the night, all these Indians came back and they got the canoe and they took it back. They didn't just take it. They went and used it. They put it in the river and they all, went on a ride. It's like, hold on, I'm not using it, so you can use it. So we're moving in a place, there's other countries that are already there. It's scary, but, just looking at the idea that with right now, nobody wants to go back to work. And we're in this weird in between because people are getting unemployment, and all over the world there are countries that pay people a cost of living, or they give people like $2,000 a month every month to so, and people freak out, especially from the old timers. Like my father-in-law, he will not use a self-checkout. If he sees a person in line, he goes to that person to say, like, hey, I want to use you because they're taking your job away. Let's look at, the garbage men, where you got somebody driving a garbage truck and you got two guys on the back. Now they got it to where it just takes one. So one guy who drives the truck, there's an arm that comes out and grabs it. I'm pretty sure soon they're going to have, it's going to be remote or something that it knows where everything's at, it can do it. And people are like, oh, we're losing our jobs. But I think it takes this place to get to where you don't need a humans there sitting there punching buttons to take your order. The McDonald's things, and, you can go there and a machine can make probably your burger better than any human. And it's scary. And we're in a transition, but what comes with that, the loss of jobs, but it's creating this place where, hey, we'll pay you $1,000 a month so that your light and your rent is paid, and you can be a painter. I know you don't make a lot of money being a painter, but it's your heart's desire, and you're going to be happy to be able to do what you love, and you're going to be taken care of, and you don't have to go and change oil for 10 hours. You can actually be painting for 10 hours or something. I feel like it is the road to progress if it's done right? Because if the Bible says if the righteous lead, the people rejoice, but if the wicked are in power, the people mourn. So it's like, the question we have to ask in this evolutionary process as we're undergoing, we're in strange times right now. We're not very strange. It's who are these people and what is their agenda? What would you say to that whole democratic, socialistic place where everyone's taken care of and everyone has, a job, or they get to do whatever it is their heart's desire is? People say if nobody's going to want to be a doctor if they make the same amount of money as the mechanic. I feel like people become a doctor because they want to help people. Like, you didn't become a shaman because it pays well. Like, you became that because you have a heart for people who are oppressed. What would you say?
I would say that, in an idealized society, everybody has their role, and it's the role they want. It's what they're good at. It's what they're driven towards, and it fulfills them. And things are even across the board. So it doesn't matter if, okay, Joe over here is the mechanic and Eric over here is the doctor. They're both being fulfilled, and they're both filling that role in society, and they're both giving equally as far as what they're taking and what they're producing. The problem that we have, though, is we have a very business-driven world. It's all about profit, and these are the lower vibrations we're trying to shift out of. we're trying to shift into the community. And I mean, you know, if you really want to get
Capitalism and
weird,
consumerism.
you know, the whole reason why you know, some of these celestial races and aliens and things like that, why they haven't kind of come out of the woodworks yet. I mean, look how backwards we are. We still judge each other based on the different colors of skin. We're not even a unified tribe worldwide yet.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many things we need to evolve on as a world, not even as just different cultures in society, but, you know, as a world tribe. And I feel like once we get to that point where we realize it doesn't need to be about profit anymore, it doesn't need to be about the newest and best thing, but it needs to be more about integration, more of like a hive society kind of thing, then only then can the human race truly prosper.
We got to work together. If we look at the animal kingdom, they have roles and they work together. You know, people like the hive mind or whatever. People look at so on my overlay on this podcast, there's like honeycomb or whatever the shapes are on there. And people are like, oh, there's Illuminati hive mind. People like start reading into it, but we got to work together, man, versus working against each other. And I think you know, the things that I mentioned, I feel like we have to get there. We have to learn to share. We have to learn to love. We have to learn to lend. We have to learn to help. Versus like, these are mine. I worked my whole life to get this boat, and no, you can't have it, kind of thing, you know. And versus like feeling like we own stuff that we can't take with us, you know. I feel like it is a veil that humanity, maybe all civilizations have to, you know, pass through. Maybe those alien races had to pass through it, but you know, we're in interesting times, very, very much so.
Yes.
For many reasons.
A pivotal point, if you will.
Have you played Fallout 4?
Yeah,
Fallout 4?
that's my favorite Fallout.
I know, right? It's like, I would say for a long time, my favorite game ever. But at the beginning of that game, you go through these tests, and they like, when you're a kid, and they're like, you got to take the test and see if you can pay attention, see what you like to do. And then it's a placement test to say, okay, you're going to go work in the sewers. Okay, you're going to be a scientist. So at childhood, they put you through all of this stuff to see what you like. And wouldn't it be interesting if they were like, okay, this guy's going to be a musician. We need to cater to that. We're going to train him with the best musicians. Again, I mentioned the Bible, the school of the prophets. This guy is intuitive. He's a baby. He's been able to guess these numbers in these boxes, and he knows the colors without even looking at them. We got to send him with the prophets. You're going to go and study with the prophets. Like Egypt, all of these places, man, they train their kids to be stargazers, like, versus like, hey, just go through grade school, go to college, and let the chips fall where they may. If you can be an artist and learn how to, make a living off of it, good luck. It seems like it's left up to chance, then left up to, listen, we're going to cater to, like a society, like, you know, your elder that catered to you. If a whole society would cater to the people, and you saw the potential in somebody and saw what they love to do to cater to it. Like, man, how fulfilling and how much of a righteous act is that, to be able to, man, like, help someone and put them on their path and see and ask them what they want to do. And I enjoy it, and I know you do. It's very fulfilling to work with people and to see them step out. I remember working with some individuals who were wanting to do the same things that I'm doing. They wanted to do like online readings and prayer sessions and advertise their one-on-one, but they knew that if their family found out, they're going to, hey, how you doing one-on-one psychic readings or whatever. And I remember working with people and trying to encourage some friends of mine. And I remember getting an alert that so-and-so was live in the group for the first time. I was like, oh, I've been coaching them. I've been working with them. I've been encouraging them. I've been showing them that it can be done. First of all, that's the biggest thing. Like, I'm an example. If I can do it, you can do it. And seeing them go live and thrive and love to do what they were doing. It's like, it's so fulfilling to know that I share a piece of that. I'm not coming to claim it and take, but I know the work that I've done behind the scenes for many people, dude. And to know how far that ripple reaches, because I believe that every person that my friend touches, that I kind of share in that reward. of that good karma of
Yeah.
and not just him, like everybody who listens to this conversation and is inspired to step into their calling. Like I feel like we share in all of that stuff, man, and that ripple goes so far that we could never comprehend it. And it is a dope meditation just to sit in that, especially when you feel like nobody's listening, like, you know, I'm not getting any feedback, I don't know if this is working, because those times come for sure. But to sit back and say, you know what, there's people who started podcasts because of my podcast, and they're reaching hundreds of thousands. There's people who have started online communities where they can disciple and equip people because they've seen my model, and they're reaching way more people. And I think it's amazing because I know that I share in that, man, you know? So beautiful.
Well, the Theravada traditions, they talk about making merit. And when you make merit, it is never diminished. It is not taken from you. When it is shared, you gain from the merit of others, and they gain from the merit of you, and it's not diminished.
Yeah.
You know, it's exactly what you were talking about. Like you do this good thing, you give this resource, you put this thing out there into the world, and you've gained from that because you put it out in the world, and then other people have gained from it, and they're not taking from your merit. In fact, the merit, it grows, you know, and everyone shares in part of it, and it's incredible.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's you reap what you sow, and you're creating the life that you want, a beautiful world, your reality, one person at a time, as you're doing it with art, you're doing it with music. I mean, something that lingers for generations to come, and it affects people, and to be so, you know, you could say both is true for the good and the bad. Like if you're a malicious dude, if you're like somebody who's doing things for the wrong reason, like, you know, you're putting that energy out there too. But when your hands are clean and your heart is pure and you're doing this great work, it's so rewarding. And you don't do it to get rewards. I don't do it to come back and say, hey man, you got to give me a shout out, because hey, get ready for that, because not all of them do.
Right.
There's many cases where people say, no, I came up with this, I didn't get anything from you. Once they make it, like that happens too. So you can't be like, get mad or get hurt or whatever. But no, shout out to the people who do say, man, I listened to your podcast and I did it. I saw your Patreon, I started mine, now I'm doing this full. I got people who see my just the way I move, and they copy it, and they surpass me. And I don't get mad or bitter. I celebrate, because like you're encouraging people to live their best life and to pursue their dreams, man, you know, whatever that dream is.
Yeah.
Celebrate. We got a message here in the chat, a couple of them. Renee wants to know where you can get TruthSeekah stickers. I have two stores really. My main store is if you go to TruthSeekah.com, click on shop, there's a bunch of stuff in there, a bunch of cool t-shirts and stickers there. Or right up under the YouTube videos, that if you click one of those t-shirts, they have the stickers there too. And so I want to say thank you to Renee for the donation. Thank you for Gavin for the donation. And I see Sam just became a patron as well, man. Thank you guys for the support. You guys know it truly means the world to me. Every little bit counts. Every little bit helps. You got a few more minutes?
Yeah, let me do a quick bathroom break and I'll be right back.
Great. Do that, and I'll talk to the chat. And
Right
thank you, Eliza, for the donation as well, the super chats, man. You guys are awesome. Thank you for the donations. It really means the world, you know, for that. Lovely Lord of Hosts. Let's see. 33 hertz, gamma waves, Christ consciousness, hypersensitivity, Christ consciousness frequency from Amazon. Check out 33 hertz gamma. And so Eliza says that donated. Thank you for all your work, and I've enjoyed this so much. You're welcome. You're so welcome. I enjoy doing this, and we get to come together and build something that we like. And again, I'm every little bit helps. It really does. You know, stepping out, doing this bigger equipment, and taking it to the next level. Funding this music and the albums and the recording and the time that it takes, man. All of this goes back into it. So thank you guys for that. Let's see here. let me know if you're still watching. Let me know who's still watching this, and give you guys shout outs. Richie says gratitude. Renee says, hey brother, just checking in, doing good still, headed in work. Love you, bless. Thank you so much for the donation, and love you guys so much as well. You guys have been here for a while. You know, that means a lot. I can't lie to you. The people who stick around in your tribe and in your circle, the people who stick around for a while, they mean a lot, because a lot of people just come for seasons. You know, they come to get stuff out of you. They come because you fulfill something in their life. And you know, for me, I'm one who likes, I would say, I like consistency, and I like security, and knowing, like, you feel like people are going to be there forever in your life or in your circle, and that's not the case. You know, there used to be times, I would say literally, just to be honest, like, you know, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, where as soon as we went live, like, we had our tribe. Everyone jumps in the chat and they're like, what up, what up? And they're all communing and talking with each other. And majority of those people are gone. Majority of those people are gone for different reasons. But when I see those names that were there from the beginning and are still there, and the people who come in and they stick around, like I said, Gavin, Renee, Richie, and people, you know, work, you know, people's work schedules change, people's theology changes, people's belief system changes, and all of that, you know, comes into play, especially with spirituality and religion. The first time, like, somebody's like, yeah, I don't believe that anymore, you may never hear from that person again, because they have a change of heart, a change of philosophy, or whatever it is. So my heart, I love our community and our tribe and the people who hang out. So, man, you guys are awesome. Kurt I says, still here, brother. Your music truly changed and elevated my path. That's what it's about. I can hang it up today as long as I encouraged you and poured into you in that way from that music. And I know you're taking it with you and allowing you to live your life at that higher vibrational frequency of elevation, man. So good, so good. It only takes one. It only takes one, but we know that we're reaching a lot of people, and I couldn't do it without you guys. So really, I do not take this for granted. And I want to do what I can to serve the community as well. Sadhu, man, let me let you hear this track. The track I want to get you on. See if you can feel it. And so this is the first time people on here are hearing this too, because this is unreleased. My part's on it. But yeah, and listen to the sample at the beginning, because that talks about the curanderu. White magic.
The ritual is called smudging. It's supposed to rid the body of any negativity that may have attached itself to it during times of great stress.
Do you believe it works?
What does it matter what I believe? It's what they believe. And if they believe in that, then surely they believe in this.
White magic for the magi. View life through that third eye. Elevate new levels in the sky when you let your ego die. The seeker he shall find new dimensions in the mind. Your life is synchronized, you're defined by design. White magic for the magi. View life through that third eye. Elevate new levels in the sky when you let your ego die. The seeker he shall find new dimensions in the mind. Your life is synchronized, you're defined by design. Chromatia, geometric, Enochian, lesser magic. Communing as we imagine, meditate till telepathic. Apparition, holy laughter. Walk with ascended masters. The bliss that I've captured, I daily encounter rapture. Banishing invocation through fire purification. Sacred consecration, alchemical information. Hermetic, a higher practice. Writing, yes, automatic. A channel for the galactic beings I interact with. Service to others, over service to self. Godliness with contentment, you crack the code unto wealth. Christ giving himself, his spirit is what we felt. A portal into the heavens, we enter another realm. I will be led to gold, there's peace within your soul. The prophecy foretold, written down on ancient scrolls. The magic that we hold, the mystery's been shown. Connected to 9 ether, receiving many downloads. You get on that?
Oh yeah, I was already getting like getting a little bit of a little flow scheme in my head and everything. It's like
my flow is so slow. Go ahead. Drop it.
Yeah, because like I do best when I write stuff down, but I was kind of playing with something. I was like, I believe in magic, and then like just kind of like, I was getting a groove there. So yeah, I could definitely do something with that. That'd be a lot of fun.
I'll send it to you too. And one thing I'm open to, if you want to get on this, is like the course repeats itself, so it becomes a little monotonous. That's good so that you remember it, but I don't know if you want to write a second part of that course or just repeat the same thing that I wrote, like you just so it sounds different and changes it up. That's something we can do too.
So I guess what I would say is send me the version you have right there with the open space, and then send me the instrumental by itself as well, and then like I'll know like the timestamp where to come in. I can kind of listen to it, beat on it. Yeah. You know the artist process. You know what I'm saying?
I got a bridge on it too. The bridge is the best part. Let me see if I can. Oh Lord, my computer's starting to. Hold on. I love the bridge.
A witch named Miss Blavatsky, who spoke of rainbow body. Illuminate the nights through breath, the Illuminati. No, Anunnaki, Elohim to fly and guide me. Light beings who shine brightly, seraphim can be seen nightly.
And then you can take that same, whether you want to write something with that same type of, rhyming scheme. It's just like, I guess, 8 bars. So.
I could have a lot of fun with that.
Dope. So
these methods are unorthodox, and the church, well, the church has their ways and he has his. It's why he abandoned the collar years ago.
He used to be a priest.
Yes. But now he's a faith healer. A shaman who operates on the fringes of religion and science.
I get chills, man. Curandero.
I really like that.
Hey, I got chills, man. It's gonna be good. I gotta revisit my verse because I like everything I said. Just the flow is so. I'm good at rapping fast, but lately I've been just like riding the beat and it's really slow. So who knows? I may revisit it and add some more syllables in there somewhere. But I'll definitely send it to you, man. And everybody in the chat is like, sounds really good. Whoa, love it. Awesome. So yeah, it's almost done. I literally got a couple tracks that I'm going to be finishing up, and it'll be out, man. White magic for the magi. So, man, anything that we didn't talk about, bro, that you want to dive into that we still got a little audience here and people are listening?
Let's see.
I know we mentioned, the alien thing, but and that's really big right now. The alien UFO stuff, but I feel like we could do a whole episode just on that,
that's quite a topic right there. I've been to James Gilliland's East Eddy Ranch.
Dude, I was trying to go in June, but they had some stuff going on with their booking, and they didn't open it till like last minute. So we had to, because we were planning a family vacation. We was going to go to Washington, but I had to we had to pick somewhere else just because it was like last minute to get the plane tickets and all that kind of stuff. And I hate we didn't get to go, but we're going to go. But we had a beautiful vacation, and we went to Sedona though. Like if you can't go anywhere else, like go to Sedona. And that's where we went for the first time. Sedona was magical, and that was amazing.
I got to see the power-ups, what they call them, the power-ups, like where they go.
Yeah. Hey, brother, it's our brothers.
Dude, I'd never seen anything like that before in the sky. That was definitely not a hoax or some kind of trick. I mean, it was incredible. It was incredible. And then I've done the I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Stephen Greer's work.
Yes.
So I got to do 2 live in-person remote viewing training sessions with him in Colorado. And then
now, was it a group or just one-on-one? As a group thing?
It was group. Yeah, it was a group thing. And then also we got to talk to him, me and one of my teachers one-on-one afterwards. We got to ask him a bunch of stuff. And it was really fascinating because I did the CE5 protocol as well that he like teaches. And I've gotten actual phenomena from that. And it does work. It really does work. And it's insane when you think that you can summon a UFO. Like you can through a heart meditation, you can literally call a UFO. I mean, that's just kind of mind blowing if you really take a moment to fathom that you're putting that vibration out into the world or out into the cosmos. And, you know,
that's what that was a big part of my awakening. You know, was finding James Gilliland's work, and I've had him on a podcast twice. I sample him in my music a lot about the UFOs and stuff. And for me, going out by myself and making that connection, you know, I'll say, you know, 2011, 2010, just got called to it. And I found like a certain websites and videos that were like, and then it was just speaking to something that was deep within me anyway, you know, that connection and the angelic, if you will. Man, that changed everything for me. Because I was just a regular Christian minister doing Christian hip hop and just writing about my experiences and stuff and my beliefs and stuff. And then like, as I'm starting to do that stuff just started coming through my music, you know. I summon ETs with my laser beams. Like I'm out, you know, with the green laser, and it opened up so much for me lyrically, you know, that I could be talking about the same stuff, but still use all of these different words and analogies and versus like it had to be in this little box of Christianity, which I was a Christian rapper, and but now it's like I use all of the terms and I love them, and I find beauty in all of them and their differences and what they mean, and whether it's syncretism and they mean the same thing or they mean something different. It just took my creativity as an artist to the next level, and my creativity, awe and wonder of being out there and the sky opens up and lights up. And dude, I've been by myself, fleets of UFOs, dude, fleets. I mean 70 or 80 of them come, appear, cloak, do crazy stuff, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'd really ask for a sighting, and I wouldn't stop asking until I was persistent and I got what I was looking for, and the whole sky lights up with ships or beings, if you will. Man, it changed your life, dude. And it did. Like, I kept seeing so much stuff, and it was so, I don't see as much because I don't go out there as much. Like, I was hours and hours about being out there, but man, it's so crazy, and it changed my life, dude. And yeah, pivotal point of my walk for sure.
Yeah, that's why I'm a pretty firm believer after seeing like the Sirius film from Dr. Stephen Greer, and like some of the things I've gotten to privately talk to James about when I was at the Gilliland Ranch. And not to mention, you know, like he's not joking when he says the feds come out and skulk around his property. Like they really do. Mm-hmm. And they know that they can't legally go onto his land. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there really is something to the concept of, I'm sure you've heard about it, maybe kind of done a deep dive on like planet Earth being in quarantine, mm-hmm. You know, from the rest of the other intelligent civilizations out there, and why like none of our efforts in reaching and looking and exploring have we found them yet. Because, you know, like we created the atom bomb and we used it on ourselves. Like, how barbaric and uncivilized are we as a intelligent civilization, if you will? I mean, no wonder we're in a timeout, you know, cosmically speaking. We've got a lot to learn.
Yeah. Greer gets a bad rap, but I love his stuff and always have, for sure. And I really do agree with what he says, that there is a order in the cosmos, and it's a higher frequency of love, acceptance, mm-hmm. spiritual attainment that we haven't reached yet to take our place amongst the stars.
We haven't even scratched the surface.
No, just like So because there's a lot of like, there's bad guys, those are bad guys, you know, they're coming to kill us, and the governments are going to tell us that for sure. This, you know, the government's going to say those are bad guys and we got to protect ourselves and come join Space Force and fight against the intergalactic battle. But those are the good guys, man. 100%. And I believe that with all my heart, that there is a higher order of spirituality, of enlightenment that you must, you know, it's your baseline. They're, you know, hundreds of thousands of years advanced. People will say, well, they're just like us and we haven't. No, you have to, there's an order in the cosmos, and we're out of order, and that's why we're quarantined, and that's why we can't go past the moon and all of this kind of stuff, supposedly. So those are the good guys, and they're on our side. They've been here since we were primitive, since we were trying to figure out what fire was. You know, they're in all the ancient art. You know, I love it, especially in the Christian art. Like, I love Jesus on the cross, and there's dudes driving starships behind them. You know what I'm saying? These angels look like little starships driving around, and man.
Well, our telomeres did not just naturally become fused either. You know, so there is the whole aspect of genetic manipulation done on like a higher level that was for our benefit ultimately, as like the evolution of species goes. Yeah. But
well, here, let me just, I don't like to go deep into this stuff, but it is, if that happened, and I gotta preface what we're saying now,
right?
With the sheaths, like, what if, you know, they upgraded us, upgraded our DNA at one point? What if they're trying to do it now? And I think they're bad guys, though. Just to be honest with you, the way they're going about it. Tell us what you're doing, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what if, you know, what if they're trying to upgrade us because they've done it once before? What if they're trying to do it again, the whole world, to upgrade their DNA to whether. Who knows? Who knows? But I mean, it is a theory.
At that point, it's speculation, but it's certainly interesting.
That's best case scenario.
Right.
That's best case scenario. They're trying to help us, you know, and they just can't tell us. Just tell us. Don't be shady. Don't lie. That's witchcraft. Like, come on. You know. So yeah, man, dude, I enjoyed hanging out with you. We should connect more. Very kindred spirits, and you know, for sure. Let me know if you need anything. You work the night shift, so you come home and jumped on this interview, man.
Yeah. I had switched over to the night shift a few weeks ago before I ended up booking this with you. And it was just funny because I'm like, you know what? I was really excited for this. I'm not going to miss it. And I got to be back at work in like 12 hours. And so, but like, this was worth it to me. And, you know, after this, I'm going to shower, and then I'm going to go sleep till like maybe 7 or 8, and then get up in like an hour before work and then go to work. So,
yeah. Well, I appreciate you doing it. And I know the audience is, and a lot of beautiful questions and comments here, and they've enjoyed it. And the key thing is I've enjoyed it. You know what I'm saying?
I enjoyed it too.
That's what makes a good podcast. Like, I can interview people and ask questions, but to be really intrigued and to roll ideas and experiences off of each other to try to, you know, formulate a picture, a piece of this puzzle, man. And really enjoyed it. And I want to work with you, man. I want to do music with you, have you back on here. You're part of our tribe, man. We're kindred spirits, and there's a lot of people out there just like you and just like me that I roll with, and love to have you a part of the community, man. And whatever I can do to help and serve you, let me know.
I'm on board, man. I really appreciate that.
So your website is thesadhuda.com, thesadhuda.com, and you have all your services. People can book you for one-on-one, bunch of cool stuff, testimonials, cool stuff there. Is that the best place for people to go to check out your work? Where's it like an umbrella?
That's the best place to get a hold of me. And then like I also have my blog that I'm pretty good at least updating it at the latest every 8 days, but I try to do it once a week, and I do all kinds of different topics, a lot of like healing stuff, and explaining the psychology behind trauma and stuff like that. My blog's a really good resource on there for learning stuff for free. And then I do like links for like former podcasts I've done on there as well. And then the testimonials, and I even have a gallery where I've got some like pictures and stuff of some of like my teachers and masters.
Yeah, I showed that at the beginning for those who are watching. But if you're on the audio app, you got to go to the website to check them. But those are some really dope pictures, and caught some pretty cool stuff on on film too. But at the beginning, when you were kind of giving your overview, I was scrolling through that for the viewers.
Yeah, sweet, man. This has been a great episode, and I'm definitely looking forward to talking more and obviously making some music and then coming back on again. And seems like the start to a really good friendship. So thank you so much.
You on social media at all?
Man, I've tried, and that's the funny thing is I've tried so hard, and I just have like it took everything for me to do the website even. One of my students was like, you can't keep being a hermit, like this is the 21st century, you don't live in the woods, like so I finally made a website.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for reaching out, brother. We'll do it again for sure. Really enjoyed it, and man, great to meet you, bro.
Yeah, it's good to meet you too. You
All
have
right,
yourself a wonderful day, and to all your viewers and listeners, namaste, blessings, all of that good stuff.
All right, brother. Enjoy your day, man. Shalom, peace.
All right, peace.
Sadhu, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Again, those are the best episodes, is the ones that I enjoy. I don't care if you enjoy it. I enjoyed it, right? You know, and so they tell you when you create content to make the stuff that people want to hear. Find out what people want to hear and make that content. And I get it, right? You want to, you know, if people are making content nobody wants to hear, but there's a beauty whenever you're able to just to find the vein of things that you like, and hey, just so happens other people like it as well. I mean, I've always taken that approach with music, and I've gotten so much criticism early on, you know, of this kind of music, and nobody's really on that spiritual stuff, or maybe you can drop your spiritual music but just drop it to trap modern beats and stuff, and I'm like, no, there's a different essence there. It's not the same. And so to make music that I like, and just so happens other people like the music as well, versus like, hey, what do you like? Oh, you like gangster rap trap music? Great, I'll make that. No. You want to talk to flat earthers? No, like, cool, I want to talk to flat earthers. I want to talk to everybody. And so that's where this audience is. You guys know we're open. We talk to any and everybody about any and everything. And we try to tie it back into spirituality. And because it's always fun. Everything is spiritual. Kevin Black says, about to order my Generational 3 night vision goggles. Any recommendations? So one of the big name guys in that field who's no longer with us is, what is his name? Ed Grimsley. Ed Grimsley was one of the forerunners of the night vision goggle stuff. Him, as well as Gilliland and a couple other people. But Ed Grimsley, his right-hand man, I had him on the podcast, and I can't think of his name right off, but they would give recommendations on the goggles to get, and I had it wrote down. I just pulled it up. So it's the PVS 7 3rd generation night vision goggles. PVS 7 3rd gen night vision goggles. And I think those are around $3,000. But if, depending on your budget, I know because I've got friends on Facebook who are posting their videos with lesser quality, I would say, or stuff that's not as expensive, maybe around $2,000. I've got some friends who have been sharing some of their stuff and their footage that they're picking up with equipment that wasn't as expensive. But the one that they say to get, PVS 7 3rd generation night vision goggles. And yeah, let me know how that works out. I've yet to use a pair. I've yet to use a pair. And we could have in Sedona, but it was so expensive. It was like, I think it was like $130 for an hour. And I had to, you know, me, my wife, and my daughter go in just for an hour. It's like, I didn't want to do that. But you could see so much with the naked eye. And then when you, even with just binoculars, regular binoculars, you can bring those out there and see so much too. Now they're not night vision, but you do pick up a lot more that the naked eye doesn't pick up. I remember just one of my first times just going out on my porch at night and seeing the stars, and then looking straight up with binoculars and seeing stuff moving that you couldn't see without looking through the night vision. I mean through the binoculars. So even with that, you can see so much stuff. So I'm going to read through the comments here. Again, we got a couple more minutes. Any questions, any comments, anybody wants to know, the Zoom link is open if you're a patron. Go there and just scroll down till you see one of the School of the Mystics links. It's the same link for the School of the Mystics. So you may have to scroll a little bit, but that will bring you into the Zoom chat. And that's one of the perks you get, just to come on here and hang out, ask questions on video if you want to do that, like Richie did earlier. But if anybody has any comments you want to type in the chat, comments or chat, I'm going to read those. Kevin Black says, white magic is fire. Thank you so much, man. I'm excited to release it. It's been a while. I've been sitting on some of the stuff for a while. I'm ready to start shooting videos. I'm ready to get this material out there and to take that next step creatively for that. So it's led me to read more. It's led me to research more, which is something I haven't done in years. I've been trying to articulate everything that I've read and stuff. So kind of hitting writer's block and looking for new ideas and new words and new terminology to weave in there. This album has kind of led me to do some more research and reading some more work. And specifically, I would say some more Manly P. Hall stuff, which is, that's just a given for me. And but really Madame Blavatsky stuff. There's some beautiful things that I've been reading, some concepts in her work that I've kind of infused in the music, and you hear me name drop and stuff like that in several of the songs. So stuff I've been listening to. So Lisa says, your music is the future. We need more modern spiritual rap. I'm so excited to share it with my teens. Awesome. Thank you so much. Excited to see you on the Heretic podcast. Oh, that was so fun. Yeah, the Heretic podcast was so fun. We talked about some of the stuff we talked about today on there. I really enjoyed connecting with Jessie. And we're going to get her on here, the host of that podcast. She's going to be on here. We're going to do a talk here. And she's amazing. So you guys I can't wait for y'all to meet her. Lisa says, I appreciate you, brother. I definitely feel a purpose and a synchronistic connection. For sure, for sure. All right. Lisa says white magic is fire also. They're always good. Gavin says mad stuff, yo. Really brilliant vibes. Thank you. So let me know here last minute. This is going to conclude our show. We did 3 shows this week. Usually when I do the Wednesday night shows is when the guests can't make it on a Tuesday or Thursday during the day, like early. So if those guests can't be on there, I try to open up a Wednesday night show. So that's why we did 3 shows this week, and enjoyed it. All 3 of them were really good. So hope you guys enjoyed it too, and make sure you check it out. Sam just became a patron again. So thank you, Sam, for doing that. Anybody who wants to join and become a patron and support, patreon.com/TruthSeekah. Make sure you do that. Any level of giving. And trust me, it's well worth it. There's so much stuff there. All my meditations, you get access to them all. The music, Thursday night School of the Mystics, which is tonight. If you want to be a part of that, there's no telling what we'll do. We usually just see how I'm feeling, and we may do prayer. We may do just discussion, hanging out, rolling ideas off of one another. And that's, that's fun, being able to connect with people. So Kevin says, what does seeing the cigar-shaped UFO signify? I don't know if it signifies anything, but I do know that it is a common anomaly that people see. I've definitely seen it on one occasion for sure in Destin, Florida, which was a pretty synchronistic sighting, because one of my close friends was just now getting into spirituality and getting into ufology. And so he was in Georgia, and he sent me this text message while I was on vacation in Destin, Florida. He said, brother, I seen this cigar-shaped UFO. He's like, I prayed. I asked the Most High to show me if they're out there, if it's the angels, to show me one of the craft or whatever, or one of the angels. And then right after, I seen a cigar-shaped craft. And then so he told me that and sent me that. And so that day I seen one when we were riding jet skis in Destin, Florida. Me and my brother-in-law both seen it, and we had been looking and both being open to it, and remember seeing it on the jet ski and stopping and getting off and looking at it, and then it just kind of, went 0 to 1,000 real quick, just vanishes and flies off. Really interesting. So I don't know what it signifies as far as being something spiritual. A lot of people see stuff. I think a lot of times too that they do work off of your consciousness, and a lot of times they want to be seen, because if they don't want to be seen, they can easily cloak. And I've seen them where they'll like communicate almost telepathically, where you see them, they, as long as you acknowledge them, oh wow, there it is, and then say, okay, you saw me, then they leave. So it's almost like when you see them, they let you see them in that regard. So I think that is something that would signify something special if you get to see them and what it does for you spiritually. So Kevin says, I referred Sam, LOL. He's bragging to me that you mentioned him. That's what's up, man. Good to meet you guys. Y'all should join the School of the Mystics tonight. Say what's up. For sure. Man, good to have you guys with us. And Kevin says, wow, thank you. Very interesting. Only saw once as well. Yeah, man, there's so much out there though. That's the thing. Like, I think it is as above, so below. There's different theories. A lot of flat earthers believe that space is water. And so a lot of they think that we're like in a dome or something, and there's just water out there. It's really interesting if you was to think about that, because there's a lot of interesting looking things that you see in the sky that resemble stuff you see in the water, but it's almost like they're flying or they're gliding or floating. I don't know. Even the craft that look a certain type of way, or there's beings, there's shades. There's a lot of different stuff out there that look different. I've seen things that look like stingrays that you could see through. There's so much wild stuff. So as above, so below. Like if you go into the depths of the ocean, you see some really interesting fish that have lights on their heads, and they can camouflage and change colors and cloak and all of that. So it's seemingly the same stuff that you would see in space or in the sky. Stuff that can do the same thing. They can cloak, they can change colors, they can morph. You see stuff morphing. So much wild stuff. So Stargate says, I've seen multiple UFOs on the Gulf Coast, and they cloaked as well. Yep, that's where I'm at, Gulf Coast. And so Destin, and one of the biggest sightings ever was on the Gulf Coast, and it was what is it? It wasn't close to Pensacola, Gulf Breeze, Florida, which is close to Pensacola. And one of the biggest sightings was there, and Stephen Greer was a part of it. Stephen Greer was out there, and they did a CE5 meditation, and they had a amazing sighting. And it was interesting. They also talk about it like something came down like on or around them, and they felt like they were in this translucent ship is one thing that they talk about, but which is interesting. But also lights were seen that just started lighting up, and there's video footage of it, these lights that just kind of start blinking out of nowhere, and then they move around and stuff. But that was caught on camera, and it was all in the newspapers and all of that. So one of the biggest sightings that's ever happened was on the Gulf Coast. So Stargate says, that's where I live. That's what's up. That's what's up. So you're not too far away to come to the retreat that we're going to be doing with Illuminati Congo. So I'll have that information up soon. I'm excited. We're going to go over details today, but it should be good, and really love connecting with him, working with him. We just did a webinar with him on the Mystic Circle, so that's available too for you guys who haven't had a chance to see it. He's a good brother. He's on 2 tracks on this new album. We've done so much work together over the years, and I like to mention his name as much as I can when I can. So, because he's a good dude. So with that, I'm gonna say peace and shalom, guys. Again, we'll be doing School of the Mystics tonight. Hangout, meditation, breath work. Who knows? We're just gonna tap in. We're gonna go after it, and it'll be fun. Always is. Learning your names, seeing your faces, and just welcoming you guys to the community. Sign up on Patreon, and you'll get a link about an hour before we start. 7 p.m. Central Time tonight, every Thursday, School of the Mystics. With that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Love you guys. We'll do it again very soon. Peace, peace.
Your will so much higher than mine. So much higher than mine. So much deeper than mine. So much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. Do hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.